And there we go. And now I'm a floating box. Oh, that is good, but I have already lost all my power. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to some more Create Mechanism. Your eyes do not deceive you. I am still a box. Anyways, welcome back to Create Mechanism. Today, we're gonna be trying to automate brass creation, and hopefully actually being able to get to the precision mechanism, but there is a lot that is gonna go into this. And I think that the most I could really get to is probably getting the brass automation and maybe getting some skystone dust, because I have that on my list here. I've made a little list for things that I know I should be able to do within the video, minus the jetpacks. Those are supposed to be on page 2. I don't know why those are here, but that's for later. So for us to get started with this, we're going to need to get into a good old mod from my childhood, Tinker's Construct. Oh, I forgot I can't crouch because I turn into a box. Am I a different box? Wait, I'm a different box. Okay, I can change boxes. But before we get started with today, I've been busy in between episodes, so you're gonna get menaced by the box. So, in between episodes, I've done a few things. I've added 2 more grindstone processes. One for making clay by washing sand, and another for making gold by washing netherrack. So now I've got these guys also on an order here, and like, look at that. It just gives me a crap ton of EMC for these things. And it's fortunate that I actually did the clay, because that's actually also going to go into today's episode with the Tinkers. So that's good. I've also... There's a fire over here. I don't like this. This keeps happening. Things keep getting set on fire. Nothing gets damaged. It just gets set on fire. But I've also done something else that's also going to contribute to today, which is I've automated the lava. So I've put a cobblestone generator on a hopper, which is just automatically going into here. And then I have this fluid drawer with a puller upgrade, just pulling the lava out. So very simple lava automation. We are going to need lava automation for today. I may even need to make more of these, actually. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I did in between episodes. So, for today's video, we need to get started with the Tinkers. For us to do that, we need something called grout. This is a very simple thing to get. It's just going to take some gravel, sand, and clay. Now, the question is, how much can I actually make with everything here? So, I've only got a few select bits of clay, and then I can just break the rest of these guys down into 4. That is actually a good amount of it. Actually, that's probably, like, way more than enough, because after that, yeah, now all I need to do is smelt it down. In my new iron furnaces that I've created, actually, it really just makes it faster, so it should be good. With these here bricks, this is how we're going to start Tinkers, and it's going to be a very interesting thing. So, firstly, what we're going to want to do, we want to go ahead and make ourselves this seared casting table right here, as this is pretty much one of the only things we can make with just the bricks. We can also go ahead and make this seared casting basin. I'm not sure if I am going to do that, though, because I'm not sure how much blocks I'm actually going to do. But then we can also go ahead and use the seared faucet, so that should then be fine. So after that, I need glass. Do I actually have any glass? Glass isn't EMCable, right? I don't think it is. Yeah, it's not. And then I would need sand. Okay. Angel, do you have any glass in here for me? No. Crap. Alrighty, I got a stack of glass. So now what we can go ahead and do is we can make ourselves a seared fuel gauge, and then combine all that together to make ourselves a seared melter. This baby is going to be one of the components that we can use to melt down our products here. That is going to help us with getting ourselves stuff, because we don't need just the brass. We're also actually going to need to melt down iron as well, but we can't do alloying in this thing, which is what we need to get brass. So we're going to need to actually upgrade this thing, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Firstly, we need to know actually how to use this. That is going to involve getting ourselves a seared fuel tank. So now we actually have this thing pretty much ready. What we would do is we would go ahead and just pop that on top of here. There is also another one that uses coal, but that only works for this one, so I figure we might as well just skip that. And now with the lava that I have been generating. Also, little friendly tip, you left click it with the fluid drawers rather than right clicking like you do normally. I still hate that. But then we right click this into here, and now we got ourselves some fuel. So now on any point, we can just go ahead and then slap that thing as well as one of these seared faucets. And now we've got our melter done. So if I go ahead, take an iron ingot and throw this into here, this is now going to melt down, and we are then going to get ourselves a whole ingot, which is only 90 millibuckets. We need a whole bucket. Since I need to have a different thing for the iron, I'm thinking I'm just gonna have the seared melter here for the iron and take that stuff in, and then we can go ahead and do something different for the other thing. So I'm gonna need to make 2 of each of these. So that should be fine. So there we go. Now I got that ready. So then I need a pusher upgrade. For those of you wondering, the only difference between a puller upgrade and a pusher upgrade is that the pusher upgrade uses an upper, which you can just swap between a normal hopper and an upper. So now we go ahead and have this. So then I believe we want this to be pushed. Actually, wait. These are going in the same direction, so I should be able to tell from here. North. So we can go ahead and throw this into here. And okay, it's gonna use the nuggets, it looks like. However, it all leads to the ultimate the same amount. So honestly, I think that should be fine. So there we go. Now we've got ourselves our molten iron basically automated. We just need to go ahead and check off that it's automated. And now we just need to wait to actually be able to get ourselves the bucket for it. All right, I got a whole bucket in here now. So now we can go ahead and use the spout to send it out into our casting table, which then gives us a whole bucket of our molten iron. Now, the molten iron is actually going to go into making these electron tubes, and that's actually it. From what it looks like, it doesn't look like it goes into really much else other than actually making iron. There's also ender alloy, pig iron, and slime steel. I don't think I need those for anything in particular. Well, there's something big there, but I can't see where it leads, so that's probably not important then. So, yeah, we just have ourselves a molten iron bucket. Can I go ahead and, like, deposit that back in? I didn't know I could do that, but that's cool. So now that that's out of the way, the next thing we want to make is going to be a seared drain, because this is where we're going to start getting into making ourselves our Tinker's smelter. Now the smelter is different from the melter in, as I had alluded to before, this one is able to alloy things. If I'll have compatible molten metals inside of the smelter, it will then mix. But it can't do that in the melter, so I can't use that one. So what we're going to need to get is going to be the smelter controller, and then also a bunch of these seared bricks. Now, it looks like I should actually already have everything for that, so I can go ahead and just put almost all the rest of these into this. So that should be good. So I got the 9 for the base, so I may end up being 1 block short. There may be a problem. I'll get there when I cross that bridge. But for us to now get the smeltery controller, we're just gonna need to go ahead and make ourselves a copper machine, which is, we've made a few videos back. We should already have, actually I should already have enough mechanisms for that. Huh, yeah I do. So now we should just be able to go ahead and then combine these things together, and we get ourselves our smeltery controller. That is good. Oh, wait, that reminds me. This thing in the chat. I added something to the mod pack. I noticed that this mod pack actually didn't have any backup mods, and I didn't know how to back up, like, worlds or anything like that without them. So I just installed the simple backups mod to the pack. So I know that sometimes adding things to pre-made packs can be seen as a taboo of sorts, but, like, they need backups. Okay, I'm sorry. Mod packs need backups. So, considering that this one could easily become very messy, and also I tend to be very messy myself, I wanted to make sure that that was fun. So, either way, now that that's out of the way, now what we can go ahead and do. I'm gonna go ahead and build this thing right here for the meantime. I may end up doing it elsewhere, but as of this moment, this is where we're going to want to go ahead and put this. So, I'm going to be one short. I know it. I know it. It's going to happen. It occurs to me, no, I am not. I actually have one too many. Because if we go ahead and put this here, we can put our smeltery controller here, and then we put our seared tank right here. And now we have a valid smelter. But mode auto? Ooh. The slot will attempt to fill the item. Click to toggle fluid transfer mode. What? That's new. But something else that we're gonna need is that this is actually gonna give us 2, as we also need to put this seared drain here. So there we go. Now that is that one done. Now we go ahead and put that there, and there we go. Now we got ourselves our seared smelter, all completed and ready to go. Oh, and I also already got the molten iron automated. Actually, it's completely automated, but I put semi in parentheses just in case, so I could go ahead and check that one off. So we can go ahead and add a couple buckets of lava to this. And here's what's gonna happen. If I go ahead and take myself some copper, and I believe it is zinc. If I go ahead and check here. Yeah, it's copper and zinc. And throw these both into here. This is then going to smelt these down, and then I'll get the molten variants of both. However, what's going to be really good is that this will then combine into brass. So now we've got both of these guys on the list. So now all that remains is just throw this back into there. Those should then mix. And yeah, I already have well more than a... Nuggets don't mix. How much do I need for it to actively mix into the brass? What? Oh, it needs to be a whole ingot to do so. So I can just go ahead and then throw another 8 ingots of each of these into here. And there we go. Now we have 2 buckets of our molten brass. That is good. So now we've got this one ready and raring to go. However, I haven't actually automated the brass just yet. So I'm gonna try to figure out a way to automate this real quick, and then I'll be right back and tell you what I've got.
20 minutes later.
Okay, so I think I've actually got this, and I think the way I'm gonna do it is actually really creative. So, I experimented with something, and I discovered that by throwing an item inside of the hole here, it will eventually actually go into the inventory source itself and start smelting things. So what I have here is I have a chute and some belts over here that will then bring items to here. All I need to do is just add a pusher upgrade, which will push these up. And there they go. I can add these ones as well. That way both are then going to go in. Ooh, but it's going a lot, actually. I mean, it's a good thing that it does smelt really fast, but I think that's going a little bit too much. Ooh. Okay, well, I mean, at least I know the concept works. Could I use a hopper instead, maybe? Okay, I can confirm. Hoppers do work, but it needs to go into the smeltery controller itself. So, I've reworked this thing to move the secondary belt over a little bit. So now, if I go ahead and then send these guys over, it should start putting stuff into the hopper. You see, but then we run into the second problem, which is that it'll just start to fly when it comes into contact with something that it doesn't like. So, that is a second issue, which is actually easily solvable. Slap this on top, slap the funnel here, and now, if I were to go ahead and reapply this, now it sends the items into the chest, which would get pulled out into the hopper for it to start smelting and mixing. There we go. That is beautiful. So now what we do, we flick this lever right here, which I hope doesn't actually affect. Actually, you know what? Just in case it does affect that, I'll move it over to here. That way we can then go ahead and turn that on. And now it will start automatically pumping out the nuggets, which then throws it into here. Fully automating our brass. Oh my gosh. Okay, wait. I need to mute that because that is annoying. But there we go. Now we have our copper fully not even copper, the brass. We got the brass fully automated. So now the only problem is gonna be just keeping these things fueled, which, as I had stated previously, is very easy. I just need to go ahead and hook up some lava automations to these guys. Outside of that, shouldn't be too big of an issue. So now with our brass automated, that is then 1/3 of our next mechanism's recipes ready. Now, a screwdriver, we could also go ahead and make another one of those, as I'd already made one of those in the past. So the third component for this thing, which we may or may not be able to get in this video to get this whole thing set up. I don't think I'll get this one set up today. But the third thing is going to be an electron tube, which is going to take that molten iron that we made, but also a polished rose quartz. This thing is going to take a huge process of things. But it's all going to start from me getting Skystone, which is EMCable. But for me to actually get the Skystone, I first need to get Skystone dust, which we can get by making a few things. Now, gunpowder and the cloud of bottle is actually very easy. I just need to go ahead and actually make myself a bottle right here. Gunpowder I already have in here, so that's that one. So there we go. Then, for the cloud in the bottle, what I need to do is I would need to be up at cloud height in order to fill this thing up with air. So, what I can go ahead and do is exploit the Forgiving Void mod and wait until I go up to build limit and then just keep rapid clicking. There we go! We got it! Okay, so now I just need to wait until I get into position and actually I don't need a bucket clutch, wait. Well, this was redundant. The last thing for us is gonna be gem dust from Apotheosis. Now, gem dust we can get by either using a salvaging table, which takes a few more things that I don't have, or primarily dropping an anvil on any of these kinds of gems. So, how do I get the gems? We get them as loot. So I gotta go and venture in the nether, which is our next mission, to get gems from the nether and to make a new armor if necessary, as my armor is very weak and I have a very weak sword. So, okay, actually, I've decided to do something. So, I won't do the rest of this in this video. Just because, given my spawn in the nether, there is so much exploration and moving around that I would need to figure out that I just don't want to deal with. So I've decided that we are actually going to go ahead and do the first two missions on here, which was to actually get the jetpack. So I guess I ended up gonna be doing this today after all. So for us to get ourselves a jetpack, we're going to need to have a lot of these sealed mechanisms. I've already got plenty of those, so that should be fine. So, for us to now get this, we're going to need a leather strap, a copper capacitor, and copper thrusters. Now, the leather strap is actually very easy for me to get, as it is just going to take this and then... Something's gone horribly wrong over here. I can tell. This is clearly not what I wanted. I'll sort that out later, that's fine. So next, what we want is we just need to go ahead and combine this leather with 2 nuggets, and that's how we got our leather strap. So that's the easy part, though. Next, what we're gonna need is gonna be a copper capacitor, which is just gonna take our mechanisms and also a copper energy cell. We'll come back to that in a second because that's actually gonna be important, as the copper energy cell is also going to go into our copper thrusters. We're going to need 1 for each of those, so we're going to need 5 of those guys in total. Each one of these is going to take a lot of these basic coils, which is just some iron and some redstone. So, it's not difficult to get, but definitely tedious. So we can just go ahead and combine all of these together right there. Now we got ourselves 11 basic coils. That should be everything we need for those guys. So then after that, we just need to go ahead and combine these guys, at least all but 3 of them, into here. And that then should be all of the basic capacitors we need. Okay, wait, I needed only 5 of those, right? Yeah, because I needed 2 for these guys and then 3 for these guys. Did I make too many of these basic coils? Or, nope, I did because I needed 6 for this guy. Okay, so now we can go ahead and then make ourselves our thrusters right there. And then we should have the copper capacitor. And then finally, our copper jetpack. There we go. And this actually looks like it gives me a little bit of armor value too. Yeah, it gives me a little bit more than I would normally have. But look, now I got a jetpack. Oh, that is sick. I just had a beautiful idea. So this goes on my body, so you can still see it. But if I'm at a box, what's that gonna look like? Oh, that is gonna be interesting. Okay, but now we have our jetpack. We need to power it. So there's a few generators I can get. Normally, actually, these iron furnaces that I've made in between episodes by upgrading my furnaces, you can actually give these things augments, and one of those augments would be a generator. But those augments have since been disabled, it seems. So that is unfortunate. So we need to get ourselves a different kind of generator. The option that I have chosen, however, is going to be the magmator. And the reason why is if we go into here and look at all the generators that we currently have access to, they all generate the same amount really. But this one, I believe, has the easiest fuel source to access. So all I need to do now is get a pusher upgrade. So now with this thing already set to push down, this should start going down here. And there we go. We've now started getting our first bits of power. So if I go ahead in here and slap my jetpack, I actually don't know how to get power out of this into here. Okay, so I figured it out. I can't actually charge it like this. This is exclusively for power batteries. So what I need to do is I need to go ahead and make myself an energy hopper. What this is gonna do is when I hook this baby up to a chest, if this thing will actually receive power like this, okay, we'll be able to extract power like that. I was worried it was actually gonna need to make an energy cable, but it's actually a lot cheaper in this version than it normally is, so that's simple. What this will now do is when there's anything in here that needs charging, it charges it. There we go. So now all the power has gone out into here. This thing only generates so much power, and this thing will be able to hold a maximum of 250 FE. That is good. Okay, so then if I go ahead and put this on, I should now be able to fly as soon as I figure out, okay, there's the engine. So, and there we go. And now I'm a floating box. Oh, that is good, but I have already lost all my power. But it should help me at least to navigate the nether a little bit, provided that I use it sparingly. So did you like this video? Good. Then be sure to check out our last Create a Mechanism video where we made a create storage system. Bye-bye!